Good to see you back, guys. In this tutorial we are going to cover arithmetic functions. Here you can see a list. These are all arithmetic functions. But in this tutorial I am going to cover these green functions. And I am not going to cover this red function in this tutorial. Because these are core mathematic functions. Like sin theta, cos theta, tan theta, etc. So let's try to understand the green functions. Our first function is AVS. AVS means absolute value. Here you can see a negative value and absolute value. If we pass one of this value in our AVS function, then it's always going to return positive value. If you send negative value or a positive value, it's always going to return the positive result. It's going to remove the minus sign. And our next function is floor. Here you can see we have total two type of value. First one is 7.3 and second one is 7.8. Now the question is, what is the meaning of floor? Floor means land, means below. So if you pass 7.3, otherwise if you pass 7.8, it's always going to return 7. Similarly, we have another function named ceil. Ceil means roof. Roof means what? Above or high. If I pass the similar value to the function, then it always return 8. Our next function is round. It's always return a rounded value. Let me show you. Suppose we have two values 7.3 and 7.8. If your value is below than 0.5, then it is going to return 7. And if your value is above the 0.5, then it is going to return 8. Basically I want to say, if below than 0.5, then it is going to return floor value. And if above the 0.5, then it is going to return ceil value. 7.3 is below than 7.5. That's why it's written 7. And 7.8 is above the 7.5. That's why it's written 8. And our next function is square root. If I want to extract square root of 9, the answer would be 3. So in MySQL we have function named square root. Inside the parenthesis we need to pass the number, means 9, and then it's going to return 3. And our next function is power function. Here we need to provide two value, base value and exponential value. As you can see in my example, 2 is our base value and 3 is our exponential value. So 2 multiplied by 2 equal to 4. 4 multiplied by 2 equal to 8. And you know the process how it's work. And our next function is sign. If I pass any number to this function, maybe it's 0, maybe it's 1 or any positive number. If the number is greater than 0, in that case it's going to return 1. And if the number value equal to 0, then it's going to return 0. And if I send any negative value which is below than 0, in that case it's going to return -1. And our last function is rand. Rands mean random value. It's always return a random floating point value. Suppose I want a number between 1 and 10, and if I use this function, it can return any number between 1 and 10. It may be 7, maybe 8, anything. So let's start the practical and try to understand how all the arithmetic functions are work. Here you can see finally I am back to my computer screen. First I am going to start Apache and then I am going to start MySQL. Now our server is ready for connection. So I am going to hover on my connection named demo and double click on it. So first I am going to show you the example how we can do normal arithmetic calculations. For this you need to type select. For calculation I am going to type a number 7. And I'm going to addition this number with 2. So I'm going to use plus sign, then I'm type 2 and semicolon to end this line. If I execute this code, here you can see it's written 9. 7 plus 2 equal to 9. Not only that, you can set a column name for this. For this you need to use alias name. Let me show you. As, and our column name is total. If I run this code, here you can see the column name total. And it also calculate our number 9. Here you can use any sign. If I use subtraction sign and then run the code, here you can see the result 5. We can use multiplication. If I run this code, you can see the result. Also we can use division sign. If I execute this code, here you can see the value 3.5. And also we can use modulus, mean remainder. If I execute this code, you can see the remainder is 1. And also you can type mod for modulus sign. If I execute this code, you can see the same result. And similarly we can use division, div. If I run this code, here you can see it's written 3. because it's do not return floating point. That's why it's written 3. And now I'm going to use all the arithmetic operator with our table. Let me show you. Here you can see a table named student. And you can see we have total 5 students in our table. We save their percentage and their age, city, name and their ID. And now I want to addition 10 with every one percentage. So I'm going to type select. I want to see student ID and their name and their percentage from our table name student. If I execute this code, here you can see it's written only 3 columns, ID, name and percentage. And now I want to arithmetic calculation with percentage column. I want to add 10 with every one percentage. So I'm going to use parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, percentage plus 10. If I execute this code, here you can see it's at 10 with every one percentage. Not only that, we can use alias name for this column. So I'm going to type as total. If I execute this code, you can see the column name. So using this method, we can use any operator with that. I'm going to use multiply ceil. Multiply by 2. If I execute this code, you can see the result. In MySQL, we have a constant value, which is pi. It's an inbuilt function in MySQL. So let's use this function. For this, I'm going to type another select command. Select pi. It's a function, so we need to use parenthesis. And if I execute only this command, here you can see it's written 3.141593. And you know the exact value of pi. And it's written a constant value. And next I'm going to show you another function which is round. So I'm going to type round. As I told you earlier, round function going to return a rounded value. If value is greater than 0.5, then it is going to return the ceil value. And if value lower than 0.5, then it is going to return float value. Let me show you. If our value is 5.52, means is greater than 0.5. If I execute this code, here you can see it's written 6. Similarly, if I use 5.49 and then execute this code, here you can see it's written 5. And if I use negative value and then execute this code, here you can see it's written the negative 5. Now suppose we have 3 value after point. If I execute this code, we know it's going to return 5. And now I want to return 2-digit value after decimal point. For this we need to declare the digits. How much digit we want? I want 2 digit. That's why I pass 2. And now it's going to create the rounded value after decimal point. These 2 values. Let me show you. If I execute this code, now you can see it's written 5.50. And if I change the numbers, I want to pass 97 and then execute the code. Here you can see it's written the rounded value of 2 digits, 97, which is 98. Just we need to pass the parameter and we need to tell the function how much digit we want after decimal point. And now I'm going to show you our next function, which is ceil. And inside the round braces, I'm going to provide a value 2.19. Here you can see after decimal, this value is lower than 0.5. No matter what, if I execute this code, it's going to return 3. If the number greater than 0.5 and then I execute this code, it's also return 3. Ceil function always return the higher value. This function is not work like rounded function. Similarly, we have another function, floor, which can play the opposite role of the ceil function. Let me show you. If I execute this code, here you can see it's written 2. But if you notice, after decimal point, the number is greater than 0.5. So no matter what, it's going to return the lowest value. Let's talk about our next function, which is power of function. For this, we need to type POW. Basically, we need to pass 2 parameters in this function. Our base parameter is 2 and our next parameter is 3. It's mean 2 to the power 3. If I execute this code, here you can see it's written 8. Suppose our base number is 5 and 5 to the power 3. So it's going to multiply 3 5 at once. If I execute this code, here you can see it's written 125. This is our base parameter and this is our exponential parameter. And now I'm going to show you our another function, which is square root. For this, we need to type sqrt. And inside the round braces, we need to pass the parameter, and our parameter is 16. And if I execute this code, here you can see the answer is 4. And if I try to execute the square root of 15, if I run this code, here you can see it's written floating point value. And now I want to rounded value of this result. For this, we need to type the function name rounded, round, and we need to pass the square root function inside the round braces. And if I execute this code, here you can see it's written 4. So in that way we can use functions inside the another function. And our next function is random function. For this, just we need to type rand. If I run only this function, it's going to return result between 0 to 1. Let me show you. If I run this code, here you can see it's written a random number between 0 to 1. So it's written a decimal number 0.95 something something. But if I want to number between 1 to 100, for this we need to use multiple 100. If I execute this code, now it's written a number between 1 to 100. It's written 88. If I run this code once again, now it's written 58. It's randomly written any number. And if you don't want to this decimal value, you can use round function. Let me show you. And we need to move this rand function inside the round braces. If I execute this code, here you can see it's written a random number without decimal point. If I run this query once again, now it's written 46 without decimal point. And now I want to return a number between 5 to 15. In that case, we need to type 5 plus rand and 5 plus 10 equal to 15. If I execute this code, here you can see it's written a number between 5 to 15. If I run this code once again, it's written 9. And if you don't want to see the decimal value, we can use float function with that. Let me show you. Float. And we need to move this rand function inside the round braces. If I execute this code, here you can see it's written a number between 5 to 15. It's written 12. If I run this code once again, it's written 6. And now I'm going to show you the most use case of random function. Let me show you. If I execute this code, here you can see our student table. And here you can see is print our ID in ascending order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I want to print our student ID randomly. For this, after student, I'm going to type order by. And now I'm going to use rand function. If I execute only this query, here you can see it print our student ID randomly 2, 5, 1, 4, 3. Similarly, if I re-execute this code, here you can see it starts from 2, 1, 3, 4, 5. So we cannot predict which ID comes first. Most of the time we use rand function with order by. Our next function is ABS. Let me show you. ABS. Inside the round braces, if I pass any kind of value, maybe negative, maybe positive, it's always going to return the absolute value. Suppose I type minus 77. If I execute this code, here you can see it's written only 77. And if I pass any decimal value with minus sign, it's also going to return the absolute value 77.9. So let's talk about our last function, which is sign. So I'm going to type sign. Basically, sign can return three types of values. Suppose I pass 9. If I execute this code, it's written 1 because this number is greater than 0. If the number is greater than 0, then it is going to return 1. And if I pass 0, in that case, it's going to return 0. And if I pass any value which is less than 0, something minus 99, and if I execute this code, then it's written minus 1. If the value is lower than 0, it's always written minus 1. No matter if the value is decimal or not, it's always going to return minus 1 because we pass negative value. So this is our sign function. I hope now it's clear for you. And these are our arithmetic functions. Thanks for watching. See you in the next tutorial.